I'm going to tell you, we just watched the video from This Is Me from the movie The Greatest Showman. So that's what's leading into this, and I'll be referring to. So if you've seen the movie or you haven't, what precedes this is P.T. Barnum, in the story, he had gathered together these people who the world called freaks. He had gathered them together and he made them feel worthy for the first time in their lives. What happens in this, and I'm oversimplifying for a reason, but what happens in this, just before this moment, is this main character who's singing feels betrayed by him in a moment. There's a moment of rejection from him who helped her see her worth for the first time. But what happens is she has that moment of heartbreak and then goes, wait a second, I'm not going back. I'm not going to go back to feeling unworthy. I've had a taste of what it feels like for me to understand my worth, and I'm not going back there. There's so much power in that. And how many moments do we have in our lives where we get agitated or something happens and we have a choice? And I'm one that I was a doormat a lot of my life, my early life. But there were times where, and often it would come from your parents, somebody who's close enough for you to really care what they think. And they say that thing that just goes, ooh, and all of a sudden, everything comes up for you. And it's anger, it's fear, it's, they're saying something, it hurts in part because we're scared it's true. We either think it's true or we're scared it's true. And there's a quote that I love Mark Twain, he's just so fun. He goes, I don't mind what the opposition say of me so long as they don't tell the truth about me. But when they descend to telling the truth about me, I consider that this is taking an unfair advantage. And so the point being, you know, it's not going to emotionally have an effect on us if it doesn't resonate with something inside of us. As metaphysicians, New Thought people, sometimes we think we're supposed to go from that ha moment to ha, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, there's something that happens in between. I think anger and fear are common to us for a reason. That anything that happens to us is an opportunity, right? So it's, do we take the challenge? She could have gone and said, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, you're not who you said, and blah, 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 blah. She turned it instead to a no. I've tasted my power, I'm keeping it, and guess what? She came out bigger than ever. So what I'm saying is those points of heartbreak can be the heart breaking open. And we're seeing more of who we really are when we look at what's actually there. It takes courage, a vision, and being willing to attune. But to be able to use that, and anger can be a motivator. Now, we're on a spiritual journey, obviously, just like doctors say, you know, first do no harm, right? We don't want to hurt anybody. But if we can use anger when it comes up to motivate us to change something for the better. There are times I have been in a rut. I'm a creature of habit. It's real easy for me to get into any kind of rut. And so there were times when, like I said, that my parents or whatever said just that thing that hit me just that way. And the next thing you know, I'm a little steamroller and I'm in there reorganizing my room and I've got a new schedule and that might not even be what they were talking about. But something in me had to do something to prove to myself that I was worthy, that I was more than okay, that I had what I needed to do what I needed to do. And so I'm not advocating making yourself get angry. I'm saying when it comes up, use it. When the pain is there, use it. I likewise had an experience with someone very dear to me where we had a big misunderstanding, and it felt one way to me, I'm sure quite another to her, and I was in such pain because there was no fixing it in that moment. I went home, I prayed and prayed and cried and cried and prayed and prayed and cried and cried and wrote and wrote and wrote. But what I was writing was to help me see, help me see. And the way I processed it, even though at face value I could say, that was all her, that was not me. Like the things she was saying, I don't feel them resonate here as truth. But I made myself look to see what of this is mine. What do I need to own of this? Because that's the value in criticism, if there is what of this really is mine? And we have to be willing to go there and accept responsibility for who we are and what we're doing out in the world. And sometimes I think we may mean well, have all great intentions, but we have our own agenda and we're busy and we're doing it, and we may not realize there is no intent to harm, but we may not realize that sometimes something we're doing is bumping up against someone else in a way we're not aware of. And so that goes to constructive criticism, which of course we love that if we can be open to it. I think if you've had a lot of criticism in your life, it's hard to switch gears. It makes it difficult to say, no, this is, where is their motive? Okay, this is all about helping me honestly. You know, that kind of thing, and to be able to shift gears. But before I get there, I want to talk a little bit more. I have another few great quotes, because for some reason, Mark Twain had a lot to say about critics, and I think that might say something about Mark Twain. So he said, I believe that the trade of critic in literature, music, and the drama is the most degraded of all trades, and that it has no real value, certainly no large value. However, let it go. It is the will of God that we must have critics and missionaries and congressmen and humorists, and we must bear the burden. So we always had a great way of saying it, but to me it's that same thing of saying, if we're out in the world and we're doing anything, someone's going to have something to say about it. So can we learn to listen with a refined ear that filters and says, is any of this mine? And the rest of it I'm going to leave behind. If I were in a store, I can walk in and choose one or two things and leave the rest behind, or I can choose nothing and leave it behind. And so likewise, when we hear all this extra stuff out there, can we say, is there any of this that I need on my journey? Was there any of this that hits me and resonates with me? And the rest of it, can I leave it behind? And in today's world, when you've got all the social media, you're going to hear everything, no matter what you're doing. In addition to the class that you all may know I've been taking with Alan Cohen on the Course in Miracles, I'm also taking a writing class. And it's so amazing. And one of the things, our last class was about the critics, being able to weigh things and having that balance to say, yes, I need to be able to hear where I can actually do better. I need to be able to accept mentorship and that sort of thing, but also to know that you're going to hear everything no matter who you are. And he read some hilarious quotes from people that nobody would, like Pulitzer Prize-winning people, where some critics said, oh, this, he'll never go anywhere, or this will, someone is always going to have something to say. So can we find that ground where we can stand and say, this is me, So that, would be our goal. And so where do we find the critic that is valuable in us? And of course, all of this, as we know, all of this goes back to the inner voice. Right, so which are we accepting as the voice that continues in our head? The voice that's saying, you're a freak, or the voice that's saying, man, girl, you can sing, and people may come see you thinking they want to see this bearded woman, and you're going to blow them away, right? So we don't know, there's so many things going on in our lives that we're being guided to do. And this brings me to fathers, okay? So it's Father's Day. And we want to honor those fathers that have raised us, that were part of us being here. And I look at that and I say, spiritually speaking, that's the seminal thought. The thought that started things, that got things going. It's the guiding light. One of the documentary I was watching was talking about the different things that mothers and fathers give and why it's the best case scenario to have both parents present if possible. And this is all considering healthy dynamics. That in a healthy dynamic, the dad is the one over there going, you can do that, do it, try, risk, take a risk. Get out there, do that thing, try. So if you fail, so what? Get up again. Come on, get up, you can do it, right? That's the dad energy. And the mom energy is the one going, I love you, you're protected, you're supported, you're valuable, I'm nurturing you, I'm making sure you have what you need to succeed. And all of that. And so in a perfect case scenario, that would be the energy of mom and dad. And so spiritually, can we say, honoring dads today especially, that there's that guiding light, that centering, where the inner critic is only our inner GPS. It's our tapping into what would Spirit say here? What is the guidance I'm getting on this? What is my next step? How do I lean into that? How do I take a chance? So much of what I'm feeling that was new to me. I'm going to protect myself. And one of the quotes we heard was, hey, if you've never had your work criticized, you're not putting yourself out there. If you have never heard any criticism, you're under the radar. And that was me. For many, many years, I flew under the radar. And so what I'm saying is, if we can just change the dynamic of it being perfectly acceptable, not only acceptable, but if this earth is I believe it's like a big lab, okay? And we're meant to experiment. We're meant to try things on to find what's ours. We don't go to a store and say, I like that, I'm taking it home. We have to see if it's ours. How do we feel in it? How do we look in it? And so there's that part of us, we just, to center and to say, is this mine or is it not? And can I trust that it's better for me to step forward and try something than to just wait here and try to decide which way is going to lead exactly where I want to go, which was what I would do. I would freeze because I was afraid as soon as I took a step, it was somehow written in stone, and I had to go that way now, and I'm committed to that way, and I was afraid to change course, even if I kind of went, I think that's really the right way, but I'm already going this way, so, I don't know if any of y'all can relate to that. This was someone afraid of criticism, okay? So, but to come to that place where, I've used this analogy before, but I love the GPS. My family laughs about how much I use it. But it hit me that when you're in a parking lot and you're in a car and you put in where you want to go, your destination, and it looks it up, it'll tell you how far away it is and how long it'll take to get there. But it doesn't start telling you really which way to go till you start moving. You have to move. And then it goes, oh, I get your intention. Now I can give you some guidance. Okay, so I think that that's a big part that was missing for me, was, okay, get moving, and even if you're going the wrong way, I can tell you where to turn to get back on track. And to not be so afraid. If our inner voice is kind, and our inner voice is nurturing, and our inner voice is just directive, and not another stick to beat yourself with, but just corrective, then we're not afraid to try. It doesn't feel so risky to try if failure is not a concern. Do you see what I'm saying? And all of this is based on the fact that we know we're not going to hurt anyone, okay? That's never going to be our intention. Now, we may inadvertently, again, be honest with yourself, listen to your guidance, be aware of other people, you're praying, you're centering. So the more and more that we can remove the fear, the more chances that we will take. Now, to Brene Brown's point with that Theodore Roosevelt thing, there are times that you're going to feel beaten and bloody and you're going to have heartbreaks. Those things come up, but it's okay, and where do you go from there? And how do I get out of this? Okay, I got tangled up and I forgot to put my GPS on. Well, let me put it on. I'm going to just sit here for a second, right? Isn't that what we do? We pull over for a second, take a breath, pull it up, and say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I want to go. Okay, I get it. And we take a moment to let ourselves safely begin to navigate again. And so I think the thing about dads that I want to really honor is there is this sense of, so many of us have, I just lost my dad less than a year ago, and so this is my first Father's Day without my dad. And I just really want to honor him and all of y'all's dads, whether they be in the physical or not. For here they were, for better or for worse, whether they were that clean, clear critic or the one that made us run to our room, right? Whichever one they did, right? Can we just for a moment honor the fact that they were using what they had, that they were working with, that truly, no matter how it came out, there was a desire for us to find our highest ground. There is a desire for us to find our highest ground. And can we honor today that there was a thought, that there was a joining with the nurturing energy that allowed us to come forth in this time? Can we honor whatever gifts and guidance and extra special relationships that we might have had with them? Can we honor even the times there might have been heartbreak, but that drove us to find ourselves and to find that voice that would tell us otherwise? I had both in my dad, the truth is. He was the one, honestly, that made me afraid of criticism because he was very hard. But I also want to totally honor the fact that he grew a lot, and he became one of my biggest supporters after I was a grown-up person. And so people do evolve and change, and I could see looking back where he went in his journey and where I went in my journey, how it truly was so much that he wanted us to understand as much as we could and to have as many tools as we could have to survive and thrive, filtered through his fears at the time. But that was always his motive, was wanting us to have the best in life. And so if we think of our heavenly Father, if you will, the energy, that part of spirit that is the male energy, that is that GPS, that is that one saying, yes, go do it, go try. You have it in you. And when you fall, yep, you got it. Are you ready? Get up. Mom's over there saying, oh, honey, that's our part of it. Oh, honey, yes. Oh, let me kiss it. And Dad's going, okay, get up. Go on, try some more. You can do it. And having that confidence, and I think, again, I'm really attuned lately to what voices are we listening to. And so if I would say, with this and with it being Father's Day, to say that voice to, in your prayers, asking for the next step and being willing to listen, what is that? Where am I meant to be? What am I meant to be doing? Sometimes it's just to be having a good time, to fill your spirit. Sometimes in your search for having a good time, you figure out ways you can bless other people too. It's not selfish to want to bless yourself. And often when you do that, as you're doing what you love, you find it blesses other people, even if you're just a better person because you had that time apart. It all comes together. It all strings together. There's this part of me, in that negative talk that we do, it can be so invasive because it often does come from childhood, whether it was father, mother, brother, sister, whatever it may be, those family dynamics, that voice becomes so overwhelming in its noise, in its sound, that it feels like the truth because it's what we're familiar with. And so I think taking a deep breath, that's why our journey needs that daily spiritual practice, to touch back in and go. You know, when I'm on the road, and to use the GPS as an example, you know, I may have a long journey. I know I started off right. I know it knew where I wanted to go, but there's a part of me that's going to look every once in a while anyway, right? Are we still on track? Do you still remember where we're going here? And I think that's that daily prayer and meditation too. And just like eating, sleeping, drinking water, whatever it is, we do need to refill every day. We're meant to replenish. We're meant to renew. It's what we're built. We're built to need sleep. We're built to need connection with other people. We're built to need connection with spirit. That relationship that feeds us and guides us. Because I believe that energy, when we practice attuning to that, that's where that inner GPS comes, but that's where that nurturing comes that gives us the confidence to act on what we attune with. So I want to leave plenty of time for us to do. We have some things for Father's Day that we want to do. And so I do want to leave time for that. But I have a couple of other things I wanted to read to you, but that our dear friend Mark Twain said. I love this. This is my favorite. If a critic should start a religion, it would not have any object but to convert angels, and they wouldn't need it. Don't you love that? And another one of his from a play he wrote, Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, he said, one mustn't criticize other people on grounds where he can't stand perpendicular himself. So again, just how much weight do we give the critic? And how much weight do we give that inner voice that's telling us, no, we can't do that. We can't blah, 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 blah. We know the voice only too well. Can we get that familiar with the voice that says we can? Can we get that familiar with that energy that propels us forward? And then we get the centeredness to where the anger's no longer needed, and it was the vehicle, it was the little rocket that got us to the moon. And now we no longer, you know what I'm saying? And now we can release that, be nice and peaceful and centered and joyful and playful and celebratory. So to me, that's where that ends up when all is said and done. So let's just bring this into meditation for a moment. Mother, Father, God. Emphasis on Father today, just to honor that spirit of all those ones who guide us, regardless of gender. The ones that are our mentors, our leaders, our teachers. The ones that would offer us only the highest and best. That which ignites our curiosity and fills our intelligence. That one that would say, you are it. You've got this. You've got this. Let me see you do it. Let me see you try. All right, try again. Lean to the left. Lean to the right. Lift a little higher. Perfect. perfect? Can we release any other voice, the voice of fear? Can we challenge ourselves to take risks, things we might have thought of as so risky in the past? But really, it's all about expansion. How do we take who we thought we were and expand our vision? Light guiding our way, that inner light connecting with the light of the allness. Sometimes we see it reflected in the outer world, and sometimes we are that light as we navigate through dark times. And can we know that when we come out in the sunshine, our light still burns brightly, and we celebrate, and we celebrate. We are where we need to be in the perfect time, the perfect place, the perfect energy. We live from this truth, and we let it be so. Thank you, Mother, Father, God.